Have you ever had an interaction where you walked away feeling even more misunderstood than before when you started the conversation? And you walk away from those interactions feeling frustrated, even a little bit angry. And then you pick up the phone on the person again and try and explain yourself. And the more you explain yourself, the worse the situation gets. It's like a rabbit hole in Alice in Wonderland, and you're kind of going down the rabbit hole. And it gets more and more frustrating. What do you do in those situations? How do we get to a point where we feel understood? You know, life is a journey of trying to express the inexpressible. Words are very small. Our feelings are so much deeper, and we don't always have the right words for our feelings. So communication happens in two different ways. One is when you're communicating ideas, right? And that's coming from the head. So normally you might disagree, you might go back and forth, it might be fact-based, those could be heated arguments, but you don't feel bad about those more often than not. And then there are those interactions that are coming from the heart, where you're expressing what you're feeling. And if the other person is in their head at that time, you do not feel understood. It can also be that we get into an interaction with a boatload of feelings, and we ourselves don't know what we're feeling. It's like a flood of emotions. And you know what happens when a river floods, right? Water all over the place, and nobody really knows what to do with the water. So I think it's really important for us to step back and say, okay, what do I really want to get out of this interaction? Am I sharing just to feel better because I need to get it out of my system? Am I sharing because I want validation that what I'm feeling is right, that I'm okay in feeling the way I'm feeling? And just recognize what is it that we're looking for. Because often we think that we're sharing to feel lighter, or think that we're sharing because we want the other person to understand. But what we're really looking for is to be right. We want the other person to acknowledge that we are right in feeling angry, frustrated, less than, mad at somebody. And when the person doesn't really acknowledge it or agree with us, it makes us feel misunderstood. You know, it's really important for us to understand ourselves. Do we really understand ourselves? Do we understand where we're coming from? Why we're feeling the way we're feeling? Why we're interacting with the people the way we are interacting with them? We seldom step back and pause and look at our own life and look at ourselves from a little bit of distance. We need to do that once in a while, because otherwise we're just going from one interaction to another without any understanding of why we're interacting in a certain way. We might be communicating in our mind facts, but there might be so much of an undercurrent of feelings that people are responding to the feelings. And then we're stunned. They're like, why did that person say that to me? I said something so innocuous. Just remember, at that time, they're not really responding to your words. They're responding to the feelings that they've got on. Have you realized that often in a room, you can go in and you're feeling really good, but if the room has a feeling of being tensed, or people have just had a huge argument, you feel it, don't you? Or you walk into a room where people are really happy, and even if you're not, you walk in and you feel a little uplifted. Feelings are contagious. So a lot of times people might be catching on to our feelings and not to our words. So for us to effectively communicate, we need to understand both our words, which are coming from thoughts, as well as our feelings. And how do we have clarity about our feelings? One, of course, is to step back. And second, breathing and meditation. It allows us to go deep and understand where we're coming from. So should we do a little breath to help us center ourselves? So anytime you feel very overwhelmed and you're supposed to have a even-keeled and centered interaction, how do you center yourself? Because people will catch on to emotions. You know, there's a breath, it's called the breath. And when you do 5 to 7 of these, you become completely centered. The emotions settle down. It's like there is a little bit of a banks to the river, and your emotions are flowing with the banks and not all over the place. So let's do that together 5 to 7 times. Ready? Feeling a lot more centered? So just remember, 5 to 7 of the breath will center you. Yeah, it's going to be your best friend. If there are certain emotions coming up, instead of trying to fix it, just stay in wonder.